Okay, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right, guys, it's Monday, December 9th, and it is 9:57 p.m. Eastern Time. I've kind of been a little bummed out today. Okay, well, I've been a lot bummed out today, and the reason being the IG report. I don't know what to think about it, and I've been sitting here for the last 2 hours reading different things about it, and I still don't know how I feel about this. Perhaps as more things come to light, I will feel differently, but right now it doesn't appear like it's that big a deal. What is a big deal is the fact that it does leave open the the ability for Durham to prosecute. So that's all I can hope for. Now, before we jump into this, and it's been a hard starting because every time I've started this, something has happened to stop me, including Skype calls, which come across. I was going to interview the person because a very, very interesting person, and I was going to interview them on Skype while I was recording, but it didn't work out. So anyway, all right, so here we are. And I do want to thank two people. D. Parker, thank you for your coffee donation. I appreciate it. And we picked up a new Patreon supporter, Norma Susan Smith. I kind of like that name, Norma Susan Smith. So thank you so much. It's appreciated more than you know. And really, it is. December, I think, is a little bit, what do you call that? Sparse. Because people have so many other obligations, and I get that. All right, so we're going to take a look at this, and again, I wanted to mention that I am on BitChute, and the channel name is Deception Bites, all one word, Deception Bites. So that's where I'll be. If the YouTube apocalypse carries me off, then that is where I'll be. I'm already set up there. I'm in the midst of getting everything transferred from YouTube to BitChute. Of course, it will still remain on YouTube unless they decide that I am not commercially viable, whatever that means. So if you look for me and I'm gone from YouTube, that's where I'll be. So I'm going to leave this in the comments, and I'm going to leave it pinned to the first comment so that you all can make note of that somewhere. Because, don't wait until I'm gone from YouTube and then go, uh-oh, where did she say she was going? Because I'd like to keep the people that I have. I really enjoy the group that we have. It's a really good group. You all communicate well together, and it's just been a really good atmosphere. So I don't want to lose anybody. All right, so let's dive in now. And this is the first thing. It's not IG report related, but I did want to show you this. Twitter to delete inactive accounts from platform next month. And this was this came out in November, so they're talking about this month, December. I think it's interesting that all of these social media platforms are doing these purges and updating terms of service, etc. I think it's getting ready, number one, for the IG report, number two, for the election. So anyway, looks as though tens of thousands of usernames are about to become available for the taking in about a month, according to the tech giant. Twitter said it will delete the accounts of inactive Twitter users next month, making some desirable handles free for the taking. The Verge reports that Twitter will deactivate the accounts on December 11th, and the move will not only affect users who haven't signed in at all in the past 6 months. It will only affect users who haven't signed in at all in the last 6 months. So if you have a Twitter account and you haven't been using it, but you still want the name or whatever, make sure that you go to Twitter and sign in so that it will show that you have been active within the last 6 months. Otherwise, they will purge you. The platform has already started to email users to notify them that their account is at risk of being deleted. As part of our commitment to serve the public conversation, we're working to clean up inactive accounts to present more accurate, credible information people can trust across Twitter. Part of this effort is encouraging people to actively log in and use Twitter when they register an account, as stated in our inactive accounts policy, a spokesperson told The Verge. In order to prevent one's account from being deleted, all a user must do is log into their account. Yeah. Does anybody else see that we are slowly inching towards the social credit system, where they will decide what we can look at? And if we're looking at anything that deviates from that, it will, ding our social credit, which can affect everything. And I just see this happening. What do you call that? Censorship. My gosh, I'm just having a hard time tonight for some reason. I don't know. I've been depressed all day too. So just this whole thing has gotten me down. I try to stay positive, and I want to stay positive for your sakes. But yeah, I don't know. I know what Q has said. I know what Donald Trump has said. I believe that there are things happening behind the scene, so I have to trust that this is all going according to plan. And I would assume it is, or Donald Trump wouldn't be goading them into impeaching him now. He wants to get to the Senate trial where all the facts will come out. So he's not overly concerned about them impeaching him in Congress, which they will do. All right. Let's go on now. Let's go back here. This is the program that is switching over all my YouTube to BitChute. Now, it'll still be available on YouTube for now, unless, the YouTube apocalypse includes me. And it may. I don't know. So let's look at this now. Mark Meadows. I just got out of a nearly 2-hour briefing on the IG report. It is deeply disturbing. Some former FBI and DOJ officials are about to have some serious explaining to do. More details to come shortly. And let's look at this. This is his thread as well. Some top takeaways. Well, I'm interested in knowing what his top takeaways are. Absolutely. One, FBI heavily abused the FISA program, their process rather, presented false info and withheld exculpatory info from the court. Two, FBI used defensive briefings to investigate Trump campaign officials. Three, FBI relied on knowingly dubious sources for anti-Trump information. Then, let's come down here to the next one. Page 361, major FISA abuse. IG identified, quote, numerous serious factual errors and omissions in the applications that undercut certain allegations in the FISA applications. They knowingly used bad information to surveil American citizens in the Trump campaign. Wow. Page 341. In August 2016, the FBI used a briefing with the Trump campaign as an opportunity to gather potentially relevant investigative information about Michael Flynn, a member of the Trump campaign at the time. What IG report page 341 tells you, the FBI used a defensive briefing with the Trump campaign as a tool for an investigation into its members. Unbelievable. Page 289, Peter Strzok lied to the OIG. Strzok said he didn't know whether Bruce Orr kept meeting with Steele after Steele was terminated, but Strzok's handwritten notes show he got updates on 12/12/16, 12/20/16, and 1/23/17 regarding Orr and Steele's ongoing communications. Page 64, Andy McCabe kept Peter Strzok on the Crossfire Hurricane team despite warnings. IG says there were even time Strzok and Lisa Page evidently bypassed chain of command to advise specifically McCabe about case-related information. Red flag. I'm going to make this a bit bigger. I don't know why, but I'm just having trouble reading tonight. First day with the new lips. Or tongue. I don't know. All right. Or teeth, because without either three of those, you can sound really messed up. Okay, so page 64, Andy McCabe kept Peter Strzok on the, despite warnings, yeah. Let's go down to the next one. Another IG report nugget, as we suspected, FBI kept using Chris Steele even after he was terminated for cause. Bruce Orr met with the FBI 13 times to pass along information he had been given by Steele, who had been fired. There is more. We'll continue sharing. Bottom line, this report confirms what we've been saying. There was significant abuse all over the FBI's effort to investigate the Trump campaign. So that is good. I really appreciate some of the members, doing this and making little threads with points, because we know who we can trust and who we can't to interpret it correctly. Now let's go back and let's come down here and let's go to this. All right, Nadler failed to swear in witness at judiciary impeachment hearings. Well, I watched a little bit of this today, probably more than I should have watched, because it literally was mind-numbing listening to these guys. It was unbelievably mind-numbing and infuriating as well. If you can be numb and infuriated at the same time, that was me earlier today. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Representative Gerald Nadler failed to swear in 2 counsels for both the Democrats and Republicans prior to their opening statements in Monday's impeachment inquiry hearing. Now, why doesn't that surprise me? Nothing surprises me. These people, I don't think that, at one time I just thought they were stupid. I did. I no longer think they're stupid. I think that they are, running crazy, because they know that they have to get Trump, or their posterior is grass and Trump will be the lawnmower. So, that's what I think. I think that I don't think anybody can be that stupid. Well, maybe AOC and a few others, Maxine Waters, definitely. But anyway, both Democrat counsel Barry Burke and Republican counsel Stephen Castor delivered opening statements. Burke, in particular, made several factual assertions, many of which were dubious at best and outright false at worst. For example, Burke claimed the State Department staffer David Holmes had heard it from the president himself when he testified that President Donald Trump was interested in Ukraine conducting investigations. In fact, Holmes had not heard anything directly from the president. Rather, he claimed to have overheard part of the conversation on a mobile phone between the U.S. ambassador to the European Union, Gordon Sondland, and the president. Sondland was at an outdoor table at a restaurant at the time, and Holmes had been drinking wine with him and 2 other staffers. Despite a habit of taking notes, and despite the fact that he later emailed the U.S. Embassy in Sweden about a part of the conversation dealing with then-jailed U.S. rapper A$AP Rocky, Holmes never wrote down what he later claimed he heard the president telling Sondland. Burke suggested, however, that he had heard the president firsthand. Doesn't really count. Doesn't work that way. Sorry. In addition, Burke played a deceptively edited clip of President Trump speaking at a Turning Point USA conference, claiming the president believed he could do whatever he said, whatever I want, meaning whatever he wants. In fact, as the full context of the president's statement, a fragment of a sentence made clear, Trump was talking specifically about his power to fire special counsel Robert Mueller, which he did not ultimately do. Nadler's failure to swear in the witnesses was significant because it allowed the counsels to make claims without fear of perjuring themselves. Isn't this sweet? See, at first blush, you would think, oh, he's so stupid, he forgot to swear in the witness, or the witnesses. But no, that's not the point. He did that on purpose because it allows the counsels to make claims without fear of perjuring themselves. Yeah, that's not stupid. That's smart in a devious and disgusting way. And traitorous way. I guess that's a word. Nadler's, okay, it was also significant for another reason. When Republicans raised a point of order objecting to Burke in impugning the president's motives, which is forbidden under House rules, Nadler ruled that the point of order was invalid because Burke was not a witness. Later, Nadler described Burke and Castor as witnesses, prompting Republican objections that he had contradicted himself. Well, that's what happened. That's why I try to tell the truth about everything. Because if you're a liar, you've got to have really, really good memory. They're doing devious things there, and he doesn't even have the memory that he objected to them calling him witnesses, and then he himself calls them witnesses. Whatever, Nadler. Okay. All right. And the next is from Jim Jordan. We thought they spied on 2 Americans. We now know it was 4. The Inspector General's report confirms what many of us feared. James Comey's FBI ignored guidelines and rules in spying on President Trump's campaign in 2016. And we are going to go on with him. No, I thought I had the rest of these tweets here from him. Well, I did, and I interrupted it with this. So let me cut this out and put it down here. There you go. You'll be all cozy there. We'll come back to you. All right. So, and then this goes on with the tweets. We now know that within 1 week of the investigation opening, the FBI was surveilling the campaign and 4 specific individuals associated with it. The U.S. government's powerful tools designed and authorized for international intelligence gathering were deployed to monitor the activities of a presidential campaign. This is a grave matter that should deeply trouble Americans of all political stripes. There are many lingering questions, and I expect both Jerry Nadler and Representative Maloney to convene hearing with Inspector General Horowitz as soon as possible. Yeah, now I'm going to go back up here because I want to get to this one right here. This is, I have a lot of respect for this man. If you're a senior right now and you can't afford your prescription drugs, that's more urgent than this. If you're a desperate family member watching someone succumb to addiction, solving the opioid problem, probably more urgent than this partisan impeachment. Let's hear what he has to say here.
Earlier in this hearing, you said in your opening statement that there is nothing more urgent than impeachment right now. This is the most urgent thing we could possibly do. Well, you know what? If you're a senior right now and you can't afford your prescription drugs, that's more urgent than this. If you're a manufacturer wanting to dominate the Western Hemisphere with the passage of the USMCA, that is more urgent. If you're a farmer who wants to open markets so that your family can survive and thrive, that is a lot more urgent than this partisan process. If you're a desperate family member watching someone succumb to addiction, solving the opioid problem, probably more urgent than this partisan impeachment. Earlier in this hearing, you said in your opening statement.
Okay, and then it's just starting over again. But I really like that. It's so true. They are not getting anything done. And they're not getting the things that we pay them. Our taxpayer dollars is what pays their salary. We are paying them, and they're doing absolutely nothing and getting quite a good salary for doing nothing, along with all the perks they get perks like opportunities to fill their pockets in other ways. All right, let's go back now and go on. All right, and now we're going to get to this. Okay, it says bias, Trump targeted, not Clinton, page 3. So Trump was targeted, but Hillary Clinton wasn't, even though they were both, presidential candidates. In August 2016, a supervisor of the Crossfire Hurricane investigation participated on behalf of the FBI in a strategic intelligence briefing given by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence to candidate Trump and his national security advisors, including, we're coming down here now, and Patrick Howley, by the way, if you're not aware of it, is a journalist, so a reporter, and on our side. His national security advisors, including investigative subject Flynn, also participated in a separate strategic intelligence briefing given to candidate Clinton and her national security advisors. The FBI viewed the briefing of candidate Trump and his advisors as a possible opportunity to collect information potentially relevant to the Crossfire Hurricane and Flynn investigations. The supervisor memorialized the results of the briefing in an official FBI document, including instances where he was engaged by Trump and Flynn. The supervisor did not memorialize the results of the briefing of candidate Clinton and her advisors. Yeah. Well, why would they? That's who they wanted to win. They didn't care what she'd done. They didn't care what she'd done or what she'd been involved in. They didn't care. But they sure care about every single thing about Trump. And they have been, how many lawyers have been working on this? How many investigators? How many interviews have they had? And they can't pin anything on him yet? Wow. Either they're really bad or Trump is really good. And meaning he's clean. And that's what I want to believe that. I really do want to believe that. All right. And I hope that that is the truth. Now, let's look at this by the True Pundit. Oh, no, let's not. This is old. Not sure how that came up, to tell you the truth. But that is my goof. And that's what I feel like tonight. A goof. All right. Now, look at these 3 witnesses. And what do they all have in common? They all have a Band-Aid on their finger. Here is her Band-Aid. Here is her Band-Aid. And there is his Band-Aid. Gee, was there like a rash of paper cuts or what? I'm thinking spirit cooking. I'm thinking about the fact that they cut a piece of like their finger or whatever, and then they suck the blood, they eat the pain. I believe that they were involved probably in some sort of a ritual before this, because, think about how you don't often see somebody with a Band-Aid on. Really, like if you were to start looking, like say now, like go to the mall and, well, not right now, but go to the mall and look around and look, gee, how many people have Band-Aids on their fingers? Probably not many. There might be 1 or 2, but what are the odds that there'd be 3 of them in the same room? What are the odds of that? Pretty astronomical, if you ask me. So that's what I think they've been up to. When Q says these people are evil, yeah, they're evil. Okay, sorry, I hit the light there. This by Technofog, IG report, the FBI used Christopher Steele to get information on General Flynn. FBI promised Steele he would be paid significantly for this information. Now we come here, and this is taken straight from the IG report, Case Agent 2 told the OIG that he informed Steele that the FBI was interested in obtaining information in 3 buckets. According to Case Agent 2's written summary of the meeting, as well as the supervisory intel analyst notes, these 3 buckets were: 1. Additional intelligence reporting on specific named individuals, such as Page or Flynn, involved in facilitating the Trump campaign Russian relationship. 2. Physical evidence of specific individuals involved in facilitating the Trump campaign Russian relationship, such as emails, photos, ledgers, memorandums. And 3. Any individuals or subsources who Steele could identify, who could serve as cooperating witnesses to assist in identifying persons involved in the Trump campaign Russian relationship. Case Agent 2's written summary of the meeting also indicates that Case Agent 2 explained that the FBI was willing to compensate Steele. Oh, really? Significantly. So not just compensate him, but compensate him significantly for information concerning the 3 buckets, and that Steele would be paid $15,000 for his trip to the European city for the early October meeting. And that was in London? Yeah, all sorts of little tidbits we're getting tonight. We're not getting the full meal, but we're getting some good tidbits. Hopefully enough to get full. All right. And this by Mark Meadows, another IG report nugget. As we suspected, FBI kept using Chris Steele even after he was terminated for cause. Bruce Orr met with the FBI 13 times. Did we already read this? Because it sounds awfully familiar. To pass along information he'd been given by Steele, who had been fired. I think we already read that, but heck, why not read it twice? Well, it sticks more. More times you hear it, more times you'll remember it. Okay, well, that was just me covering for. And it says there is more. We'll continue sharing. Bottom line, this report confirms what we've been saying. There was significant abuse all over the FBI's effort to investigate the Trump campaign. And of course, we know that. So let's go on to this. TikTok, and this is from today, so it's hot and fresh. TikTok, Rudy to release report on Ukraine Biden crime family findings this week. Yeah, that's going to be something. President Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, traveled to Hungary and Ukraine last week and met with officials in Kiev in his ongoing efforts to expose corruption and pay-to-play schemes involving the Biden crime family and other Democrats. Mr. Giuliani revealed Monday morning on Steve Bannon's radio show, The War Room Impeachment, that he is working to release a report on his findings from his latest trip to Europe to Attorney General Bill Barr and GOP lawmakers in Congress this week. OAN reporter Chanel Ryan has been traveling with Rudy Giuliani and reporting on his investigations in Hungary and Kiev, Ukraine. In her report released on Sunday night, Chanel Ryan mentioned that Ukrainian officials showed her 6 criminal cases. 6 involving the Bidens, Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden. 6 criminal cases. Yeah. I was going to do an outline of it and try to present it at the convenience of the Republicans in Congress and the Attorney General at the end of this week, Rudy said on a podcast interview with Steve Bannon Monday. We know so far that Joe Biden's drug addict son, Hunter, was sitting on the board of Burisma Holdings, a Ukrainian natural gas company, and being paid, by some accounts, over $200,000 a month, even though he had 0 experience in the field. Then, Vice President Joe Biden, who was tasked to oversee U.S. dealings with Ukraine, threatened to withhold over $1 billion in loan guarantees to Ukraine unless they fired Viktor Shokin, the Ukrainian prosecutor investigating Burisma and Hunter. Biden bragged about shaking down Ukraine and getting Mr. Shokin fired during a 2018 speech to the Council on Foreign Relations. Yeah, probably shouldn't have done that, Biden. Just saying. All right, so we've got that to look forward to, because that's going to cause the left to absolutely melt down. They may even spontaneously combust, and all you may see in the floor of Congress and the Senate may be just little piles of just a dark pile, because they'll just spontaneously combust. I used to be very interested in spontaneous human combustion. It's a thing. Look it up. All right. Okay. Now, let's go back. Now, I'm going to leave this link right here. I will upload it to Patreon because this is the actual report. It's close to 500 pages, but hey, I have confidence in you. I'm trying to get through it, and I'm like, wow. Okay. And Mark Meadows, breaking IG report officially released. It reveals FBI fell far short in vetting accuracy of FISA applications, knowingly withheld exculpatory information, used defensive briefings to secretly assess the Trump campaign, used known illegitimate sources, and more. Now, let me see, I think down here. Okay, let's look at this now. This is related. Horowitz report is damning for the FBI and unsettling for the rest of us. Yes, to say the very least. The analysis of the report by Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz greatly depends, as is often the case, on which cable news channel you watch. Indeed, many people might be excused for concluding that Horowitz spent 476 pages to primarily conclude one thing, which is that the Justice Department acted within its guidelines in starting its investigation into the 2016 campaign of President Trump. Horowitz did say that the original decision to investigate was within the discretionary standard of the Justice Department. That standard for the predication of an investigation is low, simply requiring articulable facts. He said that since this is a low discretionary standard, he cannot say it was inappropriate to start. United States Attorney John Durham, who is heading the parallel investigation at the Justice Department, took the usual step of issuing a statement that he did not believe the evidence supported that conclusion at the beginning of the investigation. Attorney General William Barr also issued a statement disagreeing with the threshold statement. Nevertheless, the Justice Department has a standard requiring the least intrusive means of investigating such entities as presidential campaigns, particularly when it is the campaign of the opposing party. That threshold finding is then followed by the remainder of the report, which is highly damaging and unsettling. Horowitz finds a litany of false and even falsified representations used to continue the secret investigation targeting the Trump campaign and its associates. This is akin to reviewing the Titanic and saying that the captain was not unreasonable in starting the voyage. The question is, what occurred when icebergs began appearing? Horowitz says that investigative icebergs appeared very early on, and the Justice Department not only failed to report that to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act court, but also removed evidence that its investigation was on a collision course. The investigation was largely based on a May 2016 conversation between Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos. That's right, George Papadopoulos. Yeah, him. I said Papadopoulos. All right, and Austrian diplomat Alexander Downer in London. Papadopoulos reportedly said he heard that Russia had thousands of emails from Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton. That was viewed as revealing possible prior knowledge of the WikiLeaks release 2 months later, which was then used to open 4 investigations targeting the campaign and Trump associates. Notably, Democrats and the media lambasted Trump for saying the Justice Department had been spying on his campaign, and many said it was just an investigation into figures like Carter Page. Horowitz describes poorly founded investigations that included undercover FBI agents and an array of different sources. What they really discovered is the main point of the Horowitz report. From the outset, the Justice Department failed to interview several key individuals or vet critical information and sources in the Steele dossier. Justice Department officials insisted to Horowitz that they choose not to interview campaign officials because they were unsure if the campaign was compromised and did not want to tip off the Russians. Oy. However, the Inspector General report says the Russians were directly told about the allegations repeatedly by then CIA Director John Brennan and ultimately President Obama. So the Russians were informed, but no one contacted the Trump campaign so as not to inform the Russians. In the meantime, the allegations quickly fell apart. Horowitz detailed how all of the evidence proved exculpatory of any conclusion or conspiracy with the Russians. Even worse, another agency that appears to be the CIA told the FBI that Page was actually working for the agency in Russia as an operational contact gathering intelligence. The FBI was told this repeatedly, yet it never reported that to the FISA court approving the secret investigation of Page. His claim was to have worked with the federal government. His claim to have worked with the federal government was widely dismissed. Worse yet, Horowitz also found that investigators and the Justice Department concluded there was no probable cause on Page to support its FISA investigation. That is when there was an intervention from the top of the FBI ordering investigators to look at the Steele dossier funded by the Democratic National Committee and the Clinton campaign. Who told investigators to turn to the dossier? Former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe. He was fired over his conduct in the investigation after earlier internal investigations. Horowitz contradicts the media claim that the dossier was just a small part of the case presented to the FISA court. He finds that it was essential to seeking FISA warrants. Horowitz also finds no sharing of information with FISA judges that undermined. Horowitz also finds no sharing of information with FISA judges that undermined the credibility of the dossier or Christopher Steele himself. Surprisingly, little effort was made to fully investigate the dossier when McCabe directed investigators to it, yet investigators soon learned that critical facts reported to the FISA court was false. That should be were false. Facts were false. FISA judges were told that a Yahoo News article was an independent corroboration of the Steele dossier, but Horowitz confirms that Steele was the source of the article. Therefore, Steele was used to corroborate Steele on allegations that were later found to be unfounded. The report also says that Steele was viewed as reliable and had been used as a source in prior cases, yet Horowitz found no support for that representation and, in fact, found that the past representations of Steele were flagged as unreliable. His veracity was not the only questionable thing. Steele relied on a character who, Horowitz determined, had a dubious reputation and may have been under investigation as a possible double agent for Russia. Other facts were also clearly misrepresented. The FISA application had been based in part of an exchange with Page and an FBI source. Page was asked by the source if he expected an October surprise, and when pressed, said there could be the release of 30,000 emails. That was a reference to reports that 30,000 deleted Clinton emails were being sought, but the statement was misrepresented to FISA judges as a reference to the Democratic National Committee emails. In addition, the source relied on by Steele was presented as conveying damaging information on Trump. When this source was interviewed, he said he had no direct information on Trump, said he had no direct information and was conveying essentially bar talk. He denied telling other details to Steele. These contradictions were known to the Justice Department, but it continued to seek warrant renewals from the FISA court without correcting the record or revealing exculpatory information found by investigators. That included the failure to tell the court that Page was working with the CIA. Finally, Horowitz finds that an FBI lawyer doctored a key email to hide the fact that Page was working for us and not the Russians. Despite this shockingly damning report, much of the media is reporting only that Horowitz did not find it unreasonable to start the investigation and ignoring a litany of false representations and falsifications of evidence to keep the secret investigation going. Of course, nothing was found to support any of those allegations, and special counsel Robert Mueller confirmed there was no support for collusion and conspiracy allegations repeated continuously for 2 years by experts and members of Congress. In other words, when the Titanic set sail, there was no reason not to. Then there was that iceberg. Like the Titanic crew, the FBI knew investigative icebergs floated around its Russia investigation, but not only did it reduce speed, it actively suppressed the countervailing reports. Despite the conflicts to its FISA application and renewals, the FBI leadership, including McCabe, plowed ahead into the darkness. Yeah, now that is by Jonathan Turley, and he is the chair of public interest law at George Washington University. He's led and he actually testified in the impeachment trial, and they were not too happy because he basically said there's no grounds for impeachment that he saw. So this is a good, very, very good article. And let's go back now. I don't want to miss anything. No, I really don't. And this, David Benjamin, breaking, John Durham says he disagrees with IG conclusions. Plain English, he will start criminal investigations into many of the FBI, DOJ, CIA. He believes there was wrongdoings. Well, and the report, supports that. So, yeah. Okay, let's look at this too. All eyes on Durham after rebuke of IG Horowitz findings. And let's come down here. In the hours after U.S. Attorney John Durham announced Monday that he did not agree with key findings by Justice Department Inspector General Michael E. Horowitz, speculation swirled over what Durham had uncovered in his ongoing review into potential surveillance abuses against President Trump's team. Durham's inquiry has had a broader scope than Horowitz, including a focus on foreign actors as well as the CIA, while Horowitz concentrated his attention on the DOJ and FBI. Additionally, Durham's criminal review has had additional investigative resources not available to Horowitz. Based on the evidence collected to date, and while our investigation is ongoing, last month we advised the Inspector General that we do not agree with some of the report's conclusions as to predication and how the FBI case was opened, Durham said in a statement, adding that his investigation is not limited to developing information from within component parts of the Justice Department and has included developing information from other persons and entities both in the U.S. and outside of the U.S. Still, Horowitz's report offered several clues as to the potential avenues that Durham may be pursuing. For example, Horowitz noted that the FBI omitted exculpatory statements by former Trump aide George Papadopoulos in its surveillance warrant application to surveil another ex-Trump aide, Carter Page. Even though Papadopoulos told a confidential FBI source that, to his knowledge, no one associated with the Trump campaign was collaborating with Russia or with outside groups like WikiLeaks in the release of Clinton DNC emails, the FISA application did not include the statements Papadopoulos made to this confidential source that were in conflict with information included in the FISA application. So, yeah, I'm not sure whether to continue to read this or not. There probably is some. It says, additionally, according to Horowitz's report, the CIA viewed the now discredited dossier from British ex-spy Christopher Steele as an internet rumor, even though key bureau officials, including former FBI Director James Comey, sought to include the dossier in its highly sensitive intelligence community assessment on Russian interference, known as the ICA. Sources previously told Fox News that a late 2016 email chain indicated Comey told Bureau subordinates that then CIA Director John Brennan insisted the dossier be included in the ICA. A Brennan representative pointed the finger back at Comey. Well, yeah. The FBI also relied on the dossier to obtain its secret surveillance warrant to surveil Page, and an FBI lawyer told Horowitz that probable cause against Page was probably 50-50 without the dossier. Horowitz found that the FISA application's basis to argue that there was probable cause to surveil Page drew almost entirely from Steele's dossier. So a lot of this we've already looked at, and I don't think we need to look at it any further, but the link is going to be there. So again, you can check this out as well. And let's go back. I can't remember what this is, but probably something good because, you know. All right. What was Obama's FBI defense for manipulating evidence and leaving out huge amounts of exculpatory evidence to spy on President Trump? They did not recall. Now, this is interesting. Again, this is taken directly out of the IG report. And notice this part. We identified at least 17 significant errors of omission in the Carter Page FISA applications. 17. I'm sure it's a coincidence, but still. All right. So let's go here. While we did not find documentary or testimonial evidence of intentional misconduct on the part of the case agents who assisted OI in preparing the applications or the agents and supervisors who performed the Woods procedures, we also did not receive satisfactory explanations for the errors or problems we identified. In most instances, the agents and supervisors told us that they either did not know or recall why the information was not shared with OI, that the failure to do so may have been an oversight, that they did not recognize at the time the relevance of the information to the FISA application, or that they did not believe the missing information to be significant. On that last point, we believe that case agents may have improperly substituted their own judgment in place of the judgment of OI or in the place of court to weigh the, so it goes on there. But yeah, they just didn't recall. That's why they left out exculpatory evidence. They, when asked why, I don't remember. Right. Seems to be working for them. I'm just saying. Okay, now I can't remember what this is, but it says Pelosi, so let's look at it. Oh, yes. Goodness sakes. Now, this is, let's listen to Miss Fruit Loop herself. This by Kevin McCarthy, GOP leader. And he says, we should take Speaker Pelosi at her word when she admits that they have been plotting to impeach the president for the last 2.5 years. Plotting to impeach him. Interesting. See, I don't even think she can keep a watch over her mouth anymore. I really don't. All right, let's listen. Oh,
There's been a couple of, all I hear from the press is that I'm moving so swiftly that it's like a blur going by. This has been a couple of years, 2.5. We feel comfortable with all of the time that has gone into this 2.5 years. All I hear from the press is that I'm moving so swiftly that it's like a blur going by. This has been a couple of years.
And is it me, or does she seem like she's had maybe one too many vodkas? Because she's slurring. Listen to the part where she's slurring. I mean, the important thing is that she said it's been going on for 2.5 years. So it's like they've been doing this since the time he was elected. All right, let me go back here.
All I hear from the press is that I'm moving so swiftly that it's like a blur going by. This has been a couple of years, 2.5. We feel comfortable with all of the time that has gone into this 2.5 years. All I hear from...
Yeah, 2.5 years. Okay. Now, I think we're done. The France riots, I think I'll come back to that because, and this is, I don't know if oh yes, breaking, this by Representative Matt Gaetz. FISA abuse report shows unverified Steele dossier was a crucial component of getting a FISA surveillance authority to spy on Carter Page. The Crossfire Hurricane team failed to inform officials of significant information that undercut assertions in the application. And right here, he has, for our viewing pleasure, underlined it in red, the parts he wants us to pay attention to. Immediately after the Crossfire Hurricane team received Steele's election reporting on September 19th, the team reiterated their discussions with OI and their efforts to obtain FISA surveillance authority for Page, which they received from the FISA court on October 21st. The decision to seek to use this highly intrusive investigative technique was known and approved at multiple levels of the department, including by then DAG Yates for the initial FISA application and first renewal, and then by Acting Attorney General Boente, and then DAG Rosenstein for the second and third renewals respectively. However, as we explain later, the Crossfire Hurricane team failed to inform department officials of significant information that was available to the team at the time that the FISA applications were drafted and filed. Much of that information was inconsistent with or undercut the assertions contained in the FISA applications that were used to support probable cause, and in some instances resulted in inaccuracies, inaccurate information being included in the applications. While we do not speculate whether department officials would have authorized the FBI to seek to use FISA authority had they been made aware of all relevant information, it was clearly the responsibility of Crossfire Hurricane team members to advise them of such critical information so they could make a fully informed decision. And of course, we know that didn't happen because they were trying to mislead the court. All right, now I do believe, help my unbelief, that we are done for tonight. I'm going to save this France riot for another time, just so that we can keep it all on the same topic tonight. And that is it. Don't forget my channel on BitChute. It'll be pinned to the first comment. So, yeah, just go over and you know, whatever, make sure that you can find it, because who knows? I'm here today, but I don't know. I am hoping and praying that I will still be here and that I can use both accounts, but we'll see. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. There's so much to look at in this that we're just scratching the surface at this point because it's so freshly out. But when more eyes have been on it and looking at it, there will be more and more coming out. And of course, we have the Durham prosecutions to look forward to next. So anyway, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and keep seeking truth. Because deception bites right in the hinder parts.